Welcome back, Truth Seekers, to the True Detectives podcast. This is the show where we unpack those wild, true detective stories and strange investigations you won't find anywhere else. I'm Adrian Smith, and I'm pumped to jump into another case with you today. But first, let me introduce our resident expert, Dr. Julia Jones.
Thanks. It's great to be here, ready to separate fact from fiction. As always, today's case brings us to a school that, on the surface, seems pretty normal, but trust me, there are some seriously creepy secrets hidden within its walls.
Okay, so picture this. A beloved teacher vanishes without a trace. Then a century-old ghost story tied to the school suddenly feels a little too real. And to top it off, you have a group of outcast students calling themselves the Misfit Detective Club who decide they're going to solve the mystery themselves. What would you do if you were in their shoes? Would you just accept the official story, or would you start digging for answers?
That's such a compelling question because, let's be real, the disappearance of a teacher you actually like is bound to shake things up. It's only natural to want some answers, but in this case, the truth is buried deep. And it takes the unique perspectives and courage of these misfit students to bring it all to light.
Right, it's like they're living in their own detective novel. We're talking about Mr. Hawthorne, a teacher who, by all accounts, was absolutely beloved by his students. He had this amazing ability to get everyone excited about learning, especially when it came to mysteries and anything unexplained. In fact, Mr. Hawthorne was kind of obsessed with the school's resident ghost, a young woman named Sarah Bell, who disappeared 100 years earlier. He would tell his students her story all the time, almost like he was keeping the legend alive.
What's fascinating here is the timing of it all. Mr. Hawthorne disappears, and suddenly the ghost story he was so fascinated by seems to be taking on a life of its own. It makes you wonder, is this just a crazy coincidence, or is there something more going on beneath the surface that's exactly what our Misfit Detective Club is determined to find out?
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's take a closer look at this detective club. There's Maeve, who claims she can hear the whispers of the dead. And wouldn't you know, shortly after Mr. Hawthorne goes missing, she starts hearing Sarah Bell's ghostly cries coming from the abandoned classroom where he used to teach. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Is Maeve's ability to be a genuine connection to the supernatural, or could there be a more down-to-earth explanation?
Right. We have to consider all possibilities here. Is Maeve experiencing some kind of psychic phenomenon, or is something else going on? Could it be a heightened sensitivity to the emotions and energy surrounding Sarah Bell's disappearance? Or, and this is a little unnerving, is it possible someone is deliberately trying to manipulate Maeve and her unique ability? This is a question I know our listeners are probably thinking about too.
It's like a real-life ghost hunt. But these students aren't just sitting around waiting for answers to fall into their laps. They're taking matters into their own hands, starting with a deep dive into the school archives.
Yeah.
Think dusty old ledgers, faded photographs, anything that might give them a clue about Sarah Bell's disappearance. They're like a modern-day Scooby-Doo gang, but instead of chasing after spooky figures in masks, they're on the trail of a real mystery.
Their dedication is admirable. They uncover all sorts of things, old newspaper clippings about Sarah Bell's disappearance, whispers of a possible cover-up. It's as though they're peeling back the layers of history, revealing a story that's been deliberately hidden for far too long.
And then talk about a major breakthrough. They discover a hidden map tucked inside an old textbook. This map, it seems, leads to a forgotten section of the school basement. Now, I don't know about you, but anything involving a creepy forgotten basement immediately sets off my alarm bells. But our fearless detectives, they're not fazed. They decide to follow the map with Maeve and those ghostly whispers leading the way deeper and deeper into the school's hidden depths.
It's a classic descent into the unknown, a journey into the heart of the mystery. It's also a space full of shadows and secrets, the perfect place for the truth to finally come out. But every step they take brings them closer to the truth and potentially closer to danger.
And at the end of this creepy tunnel, in a forgotten room, they stumble upon something incredible. A time capsule inside, as well as Greek. They find Sarah Bell's diary filled with her thoughts, her dreams, and her growing fears. This is more than just a personal diary. It's a first-hand account of what really happened to Sarah Bell. And it turns out it wasn't a tragic accident like everyone believed, but something far more sinister. Someone deliberately silenced her, but that's not all. They also find a locket in the time capsule. And get this, the initials on the locket match. The current headmistress of the school talk about a shocking twist.
The diary is a game changer. It provides a direct link to Sarah Bell's experiences, her pleas for help, and the growing sense of danger she felt leading up to her disappearance. And let's not forget, the locket, its connection to the headmistress, adds another layer of intrigue to the whole case. It makes you wonder, could this be the missing piece of the puzzle, the clue that connects the past to the present? Welcome back to the True Detectives podcast, where we're unraveling a tale of ghostly whispers and buried secrets. When we left off, our Misfit Detective Club had just uncovered a shocking truth. The headmistress, a figure of authority and respect, was implicated in not only the disappearance of Mr. Hawthorne, but also in a century-old cover-up involving the vanished student, Sarah Bell.
It's a classic case of who can you trust,
Yeah.
right? You've got the person who's supposed to be protecting these students, but she turns out to be the one they need protection from. But why would the headmistress go to such lengths to keep Sarah Bell quiet all those years ago? And how does Mr. Hawthorne's disappearance fit into all of this?
As the police continued their investigation, a chilling motive started to emerge. The locket found with Sarah Bell's diary, the one with the headmistress's initials on it, contained a tiny faded photograph. It was a picture of a young man who, according to school records, was a teacher at the school when Sarah vanished. And here's the kicker. The headmistress later confessed that this man was her fiancé.
Okay, so we've got a possible love triangle,
Yeah.
a jealous rival, and someone taking drastic measures to protect a secret. It's all very dramatic, but I'm still trying to figure out how this all connects to Mr. Hawthorne. What could he possibly have known about events that happened 100 years earlier?
Remember, Mr. Hawthorne was completely fascinated by the school's history, especially Sarah Bell's story. He spent countless hours in the school archives, poring over documents and piecing together bits of information. And it seems like in his quest for the truth, he stumbled upon a critical piece of evidence, a letter hidden away in an old file written by Sarah Bell to a friend just days before she disappeared.
A letter now sounds intriguing. What did it say? What kind of secrets could it have revealed?
In the letter, Sarah confessed to her friend that she had discovered a scandalous secret about a teacher at the school, a secret so big it could ruin his reputation and destroy his upcoming marriage. She was torn between her loyalty to her friend, the teacher's fiancé, and her desire to do what she thought was right. She's planning to confront the teacher, to plead with him to do the right thing, but she never got the chance.
So it sounds like Mr. Hawthorne, without even realizing it, had uncovered the truth behind Sarah Bell's disappearance. He found the truth that the headmistress had spent years trying to bury. But why poison him? Why not just try to discredit him to make it seem like he was just some eccentric teacher obsessed with an old ghost story?
This is where we have to consider the headmistress's state of mind. She had dedicated her entire life to building this image of herself as a respected and trustworthy educator. The truth about her past, about her involvement in silencing Sarah Bell, would have completely shattered that image, destroyed everything she had worked for. It's a good time to ask our listener, what would you do if you were in her position? Would you try to protect your reputation at all costs, even if it meant hurting someone else?
It's a tough question to answer. But it seems like the headmistress was willing to do whatever it took to keep her secret safe, even if it meant repeating the mistakes of the past. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the people you least expect can be capable of truly terrible things.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about the significance of that locket the headmistress had held onto it all these years. It was a physical reminder of her past, of the secret she had buried. But ironically, it ended up being her downfall. The piece of evidence that linked her to both Sarah Bell's disappearance and Mr. Hawthorne's poisoning her attempt to silence the past ultimately led to its exposure. The truth has a way of coming out, doesn't it?
It certainly does, but in this case, it took a group of misfit teenagers with their curiosity and determination to bring that truth to light. They refused to let fear or skepticism stop them. They followed the clues, listened to those whispers, and in doing so, they solved a crime and brought justice to a ghost. They also uncovered some deep truth about human nature, the lengths people will go to protect themselves, the power of secrets, and the importance of speaking up for what's right. Welcome back to the True Detectives podcast, where we're wrapping up our investigation into the haunting secrets of a seemingly ordinary school. We've uncovered a century-old crime, exposed a headmistress's dark secret, and witnessed the triumph of our intrepid Misfit Detective Club. But some questions still linger. What became of Sarah Bell's remains? How was she silenced all those years ago? And what about those whispers that guided Maeve through the investigation?
These are the questions that haunted investigators and our Misfit Detective Club long after the headmistress's arrest. The truth, as it often does, was hidden in plain sight. Remember that forgotten section of the school basement? The one with the hidden room and the time capsule? Well, it turns out there was even more to that space. A more thorough search revealed a bricked-up alcove concealed behind a crumbling wall.
Wow, a secret room within a secret room. That's some next-level hiding. What did they find in there?
Tragically, it was Sarah Bell's final resting place. Her remains were carefully laid to rest, along with a few personal items, a hairbrush, a book of poetry, a faded photograph of her family. It seems the teacher, the headmistress's fiancé, had panicked after silencing Sarah. He couldn't bear the thought of his crime being discovered, so he hid her body in the most secure place he could find, a place only he knew about.
It's heartbreaking to think about the ghost story that had haunted the school for a century, was rooted in a very real and very tragic event. Sarah Bell was murdered, and her voice silenced by someone she trusted. What did investigators determine about the method? How was she silenced?
The forensic evidence was limited because of how much time had passed, but a tiny vial found near Sarah's remains provided a clue. It contained traces of a rare and potent poison, the kind that would have been difficult to obtain back then, it seems. Sarah was tricked into ingesting the poison, perhaps disguised as a medicinal tonic or a soothing tea, a cruel and calculated act designed to make her death appear natural.
It's a truly disturbing thought. Sarah's story wasn't about ghosts. It was a story of betrayal of a young woman betrayed by those she believed were her friends. But what about those whispers, the ones that Maeve claimed to hear? Did they really play a role in solving the case, or are they just a product of her imagination? It's a question that a lot of listeners probably have, too.
That's where things get really interesting. This is where the psychological and the potentially supernatural intersect. We can't definitively prove or disprove the existence of ghosts, but Maeve seems to possess a unique sensitivity, an ability to tap into the emotional energy left behind by traumatic events. The whispers, whether they were real or a manifestation of her subconscious, guided her to the truth. They led her to the clues that ultimately cracked the case.
So, in a way, Sarah Bell did find her voice. Even if it was through Maeve's unique ability, it's a bittersweet resolution to a tragic story. What happened to the school after all this came to light? Did this scandal damage its reputation?
Surprisingly, no. The school community was shocked and saddened by the revelations, but they came together to honor Sarah Bell's memory. They planted a memorial garden in her name, and her story became a cautionary tale, a reminder to always seek the truth no matter how difficult it may be to face. As for our Misfit Detective Club, they became school legends. Their courage and determination were celebrated by both students and faculty.
They proved that anyone, even a group of so-called misfits, can make a difference. Their story is a powerful reminder that we all have the potential to be truth seekers, to challenge the status quo, and to fight for what's right. What other secrets might your school be hiding? What whispers echo through your hallways? Remember, the truth is out there, waiting to be uncovered. And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to bring it to light. Thanks for joining us on this chilling journey into the heart of a true detective story.
Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and keep those detective senses sharp.